Metroid Prime 4's second trailer begins immediately after the first trailer ended. So the first trailer ended with Samus walking out of some kind of glowing portal and into this lush verdant jungle. And then we got a short sweeping shot of a bridge spanning a massive chasm, leading to some sort of alien structure. Well, this time we get a much closer look at that environment, as well as a name. This is Planet Vuros, a brand new location in the Metroid universe. I suspect that this is probably the second area of the game. We will start with the explosive space pirate attack on the Federation Research Facility, which will end with Samus somehow getting teleported here. It may not look like it at first glance, but there is actually a ton of new story information in this trailer. A lot of meat for us to chew on. The narrator says that Samus is trapped on this planet, and that she transported here unexpectedly. And we've got a new alien species, the Lemorn. Most, if not all, of the technology and architecture in this trailer belongs to them, though there are a couple of tantalizing potential exceptions I will examine later. Their architecture has a flowing, elegant style, very bright, a lot of sunlight, lots of light colors, lots of greenery, lots of ornamentation. Take a close look at this bridge and the temple beyond. Notice the way the stonework runs together, almost like liquid. It is all very ornate and graceful. Also, notice the damage and decay evident on that bridge, the missing guardrails on the left side. Later in the trailer, Samus will scan a statue in the jungle, and the reading will describe it as an ancient Lemorn statue. So all of this architecture is very, very old. Partially ruined, though generally in fantastic shape considering its age, all of it overgrown with wildlife, and there do not seem to be very many living Lemorn around, which suggests that, in the distant past, the Lemorn were struck by some sort of terrible apocalyptic disaster, which destroyed all or most of their civilization. I'm gonna guess that this disaster is somehow connected to that strange artifact we saw in the first trailer, the one the Federation researchers were trying to protect, and which villain Sylux was likely attempting to steal. I am going to engage in some wild speculation now and say that that artifact is a piece of ancient Lemorn technology. I think the Federation dug it up on some unexplored alien planet, probably this barren one from the first trailer, and that the artifact contains some sort of dangerous power. When Sylux activates the artifact after his confrontation with Samus, its power transports her here, where we will learn its origins. We only see a single living member of the Lemorn in the trailer, this guy, and I love this design, very alien looking. He's got a weird jellyfish budding flower sort of face, a long robe, and fairly humanoid looking hands crossed in front of his torso. Except I am not convinced that this dude is actually alive. Notice the glowing white and violet light that seems to be projected from underneath him. In Metroid Prime 2, multiple members of the Luminoth, which was a virtually extinct alien race in that game, spoke to Samus via holograms they had left behind before dying. I think something similar may be happening here. I think Samus is interacting with an ancient recording of a long-dead alien civilization. And he refers to Samus as the Chosen One. Ooh, wow, never heard that before. So these guys are playing a very similar role to the Chozo or Luminoth. Ancient, highly advanced alien civilization, now nothing more than ruins, and enlightened culture focused on the ideals of spirituality and art and peace and scientific curiosity. And the narrator says something about threads interweaving beyond space and time. In the previous trailer, some fans speculated that this barren planet, where the Federation research station was located, and this lush, verdant jungle planet Samus transports to, may actually be the same planet, just at two very different points in time, which would mean that Samus has traveled backwards in time. Except that would also mean that, even in the distant past, the Lemorn were already an ancient, long-dead civilization. So, how old are these guys? Of course, all of that is unconfirmed speculation. Next, I want to take a closer look at this sequence of quick-cut shots that follows the reveal of the Lemorn. First, we see Samus approaching what looks like another Lemorne temple. This one has a slightly different design than the first and is quite a bit smaller. It has a layered appearance, almost like a flower bud or an onion. Notice how the walls here are completely covered in overgrown wildlife. Also notice these two bluish-green statues flanking the entrance, probably in the shape of Lemorne religious figures. Perhaps monks or priests, something like that. We will see several more of those bluish-green statues throughout the trailer. They seem to be a common characteristic of Lemorne architecture. Next, there is the morph ball rolling through some tree roots, not all that interesting. Then we see Samus using her new psychic powers to interact with some dark, glowing, circular purple device. This appears to be occurring inside the Lemorne temple. And then in the following shot, I think we see the result of whatever she just did. The temple is activated. A glowing white light appears which spreads across the floor and forms some kind of structure. But then we transition to another shot before we have a chance to see that structure actually completed. I'm wondering if this is how Samus activates the hologram, except the shot with the Lemorne is definitely set in a different, much smaller room than the one here, so these shots may be unrelated. Also notice this weird rosebud onion shape behind the Lemorne in this scene. I'm not sure what that is. Returning to this shot, Samus is standing on what looks like opened flower petals laid flat on the ground. Possibly the corpse of the boss we see her fight later, but uncertain. There is another bluish-green Lemorne statue on the right side of the temple here, more flowing architecture, more overgrown wildlife. This next shot is very interesting to me. We see what looks like some kind of spaceship suspended in the air and trapped by overgrown roots. This is interesting because the spaceship has a dramatically different visual design from all of the Lemorne technology we've seen so far. It is very blocky and crude and even kind of chaotic. No symmetry at all, no elegance or ornamentation. Like, it's hard to tell exactly what we're looking at here. It might not even be a spaceship at all. Whatever it is definitely evidence of another alien culture present here on planet Vuros. Someone else has been here. Maybe the Federation or the Space Pirates, but it does not really look much like the Federation or Space Pirate technology we've seen in past games, so it could be something totally different. From the narrator's comment about threads being weaved beyond space and time, I almost wonder if we are in a Turok-style setting. If you are unfamiliar with the Turok series, and you probably are, because I have never in my life met another fan of the Turok games. Anyway, they are set in a place called the Lost Lands, which is described as an interdimensional sewer, a sort of liminal dimension which draws in objects and people from times and places all across the entire multiverse. So you have a setting where people and locations from dramatically different cultures and worlds are all getting smashed together. I don't know, the way this spaceship, which is so clearly out of place in this setting, is caught in those tree roots really reminds me of those games. Next we see a shot of a Metroid, or as fans have speculated, what may actually be a Mocktroid, a cybernetic Metroid replica created by the Space Pirates, which first appeared back in Super Metroid. Anyway, whatever it is, it implants itself inside the flesh of this creature, which then spins around and we get a close-up of its angry face. This is a space pirate, I am 100% sure of it. In the Prime series, they have always had those weird double mandibles in front of their jaw. So the space pirates are like merging with the Metroids now to enhance their own abilities or something. Also, this shot is not from the jungle. This is from the earlier space pirate assault on the research facility in the first trailer. Notice in the background here, we can see stars and two space pirate spaceships hanging in the sky, which we also saw in the previous trailer. It makes me wonder if we will be traveling back and forth between the barren planet from the first trailer and the lush jungle planet here. Now, this shot is from a totally different boss fight which takes place inside of a Lemorne temple. This is something called the Carvex, the first boss fight gameplay from Metroid Prime 4 that we've been shown. The Carvex is some kind of sinister plant creature. Notice that it also has a sort of flower bud design, which we have seen a lot of in these Lemorne temples, and it is standing in the center of a Lemorne temple. So maybe there is some connection there. Maybe this boss fight is a challenge the Lemorne left behind to test the abilities of the Chosen One. Next, we see Samus standing inside what is probably the same temple, rising up into the air and drawing some kind of purple energy into her body. This is the exact same animation we saw earlier in the trailer when Samus first acquires her new psychic powers. My guess is that by defeating the Carvex, she is rewarded with a new psychic ability. In the final shot of the game, Samus acquires some sick-ass new drips. Look at this new red suit design, it is pretty freaking sleek. But what is far more interesting to me is the location this shot is taking place in. This is a much darker location than the bright green Lemorne temples we saw before, perhaps subterranean. Unlike the Lemorne ruins, there is no overgrown wildlife here whatsoever, no statues, no ornamentation, no signs of decay. I think this may be evidence of yet another totally different alien culture on the planet Vuros. This one looks a little more space pirate to me, considering how dark and oppressive the design is, but we just don't see enough to be sure. And there is a bit of the flowing architectural design we saw in the Lemorne temples here, so I don't know. Alright, before I end this video, I really should go back and take a closer look at the first half of the trailer. Notice Samus's purple visor when she first teleports to Vuros. This is new. In the first trailer, when she arrives at the besieged Federation research facility, her visor was still its normal green. I wonder if the purple visor is a result of her absorbing some of the alien artifact's power. That purple color also seems to be related to her psychic abilities. And the scan visor is back, baby! One of my all-time favorite game mechanics ever. We're scanning statues, we're scanning beetle variant nests made of mud. If I had it my way, we would be scanning everything. We see our first jungle enemy here, which the narrator describes as abhorrent alien creatures, which I think is a little rude. You don't have to insult them. I mean, this is their home, dude. To them, you're probably the abhorrent one. I love their visual design. The Metroid Prime games always had super cool enemy designs. This one is very alien, very nasty looking. The model is actually pretty similar to the reptilians on planet Brio in Metroid Prime 3. The same four arms, same basic body shape, same animations where they both stand up on their hind legs and walk across the ground on four legs. The reptilians of Brio were actually descendants of a highly advanced intelligent species, and they still knew how to use and fight with some of their old technology, but these creatures just look like wild animals. Hey, Future Fat Brett here, that's the sound I make when I time travel. While editing this video, I have completely changed my mind. I think the visual design of these so-called abhorrent creatures is very clearly extremely similar to the visual design of the hologram ancient Lemorne we see later in the trailer. I think it is very possible that these are members of the same species. I think this is a similar situation to the reptilians from Metroid Prime 3, where these are the descendants living in the highly advanced ruins of their ancestors, and for some reason the descendants have declined and lost their intelligence, become little more than savage beasts. Anyway, back to the voiceover I recorded like 2 hours ago. We get some kind of whipping plant thing that bursts out of the ground, which seems to behave similarly to the Reaper vines from the first game. Its design actually kind of resembles Carvex's tentacle. I wonder if they are related somehow, members of the same species. And then we get these insectoid creatures which burst out of the ground. I'm guessing these are Metroid Prime 4's version of the burrowing beetles from the first game. I also love this shot on the bridge. Look how massive that alien temple is in the background. My favorite thing about the Metroid Prime games were the visual design of the alien worlds. They were so detailed, world, so alien, so beautiful. I loved exploring and just being in those settings, and I can already tell I'm gonna love this one too. It looks really cool. Next, we get our first look at Samus's new psychic powers. The first one involves grabbing little energy balls and moving them from receptacle to open doors. This is nearly identical to Kratos' Hellwind ability from God of War 4, which he used to do pretty much the exact same thing, to activate and deactivate devices to solve puzzles. And hey, God of War 4 is one of my all-time favorite games ever, so that's cool. She can also use it to control her arm cannon's energy blasts, so this is an ability that specifically allows her to manipulate energy, which is potentially very powerful. Like, imagine this ability but at a far greater and vaster scope. The ability to manipulate energy at a massive scale. Perhaps that is the power that lies within the alien artifact we saw in the last trailer. And finally, we see her use it to telepathically move this sundial mechanism. And that's all we've got so far. I've gotta say, this game looks freaking cool as shit. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I love the Metroid Prime trilogy. I literally just replayed all 3 games and they completely, totally hold up. No game does exploration of exotic, weird alien worlds like Metroid Prime. The Chozo Ruins, the Torvus Bog, the Sanctuary Fortress, Sky Town, I mean, come on! Still no release date. A lot of fans are speculating that this is going to be a cross-platform release on both Switch and Switch 2, and I guess we'll find out in 1 week when Nintendo does their Switch 2 Direct. I'm guessing we're probably only gonna get one more trailer before the game's release, so I'll see you then.